Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the Primal Storm events, the gear that comes with it, how to do them, what it gives you, and everything like that. So the Primal Storm events are things that'll pop up on your map. If you go to your map in-game, it's hard to see on mine because I have a lot of add-ons. You see an Elemental Storm right here, and if we go to Waking Shore, we'll see an Elemental Storm here, where the Dragonbang Keep event happens, and a lot of times, and this is in Cobalt Assembly, a lot of times these will coincide with something that where you can kind of get 2-for-1 things done, which is also nice. So to do these, or when you do these, you loot currency. This currency is going to take you back to a vendor. The vendor allows you to buy 359 blue gear, and this blue gear you can then upgrade to 385 gear, and it also has like little set bonuses and stuff like that. You can see I'm wearing a piece of 385 gear here. And even if you can't see what the set bonuses are, there are some like cool effects and stuff you can get with this gear for the 385 Raging Tempest gear. I believe the blue stuff has the set bonuses as well. I could be wrong on that, but because I only have a epic piece on, we can look at that though when we go back to the actual vendor. But let's talk a little bit about how these work here. So you fly to one of these areas that are marked on your map that have a storm. You know, there's wind, earth, fire, water, essentially, right? And I believe this would be a wind one, maybe. And you go to these places, and anything here, you'll see it has a little debuff on it, or buff, elementally imbued. So there's elemental energy within it, and these things are going to drop the elemental overflow currency that I was talking about. The first one you drop is going to give you a quest to go back to the vendor in Valdrakken, and give you like a free storm sigil, maybe even. And storm sigils are the more rare currency that upgrades your gear from blue to epic, so from 359 to 385. You know, this could be your end game gear if you're a very casual player. It's very similar to season 1 of Shadowlands, the Covenant Sanctum gear. I know I enjoyed that gear on my alt a lot, so this is kind of the equivalent to it. It's a little bit more steps. I don't know if it's easier or harder as far as farming, because farming anima wasn't necessarily easy early on in Shadowlands. So I don't know if it's easier or harder, but it is like kind of the same idea as far as gear. It's almost normal level of raid gear as far as item level, just being 4 item levels below normal raid item level. So when you kill these things, like I said, you'll loot this elemental overflow. There's lots of that. There's also like a mountain stuff you can buy as well with the elemental overflow and like some other stuff. So you could just farm this stuff out infinitely. The storm sigils are a little bit harder to come by. So basically each type of storm, so we went over that: air, fire, water, earth. Each one of these, you want to kill stuff there until it drops the quest item, essentially. And it's like going to be like a special thing of earth or a special thing of fire. And this thing, when you turn it into the vendor in Valdrakken, it's going to give you 2 storm sigils. So essentially you can get 8 storm sigils a week. And so it kind of time gates the way when you can upgrade your gear by a little bit too much, in my opinion. Maybe we'll see some tweaks to this. I wouldn't count on it though. It is a little bit too slow. If you're a casual player and this is like your end game gear that you're going to be playing in, maybe some crafted gear to go with it or something, right? If this is kind of like going to be your main gear, I do think it's a little bit slow for you to acquire it. I don't think it should take this long. Only 8 per week. Maybe if it was like 16 or 20 a week, I think that'd be a little bit more reasonable in my opinion. But, obviously I don't make those decisions. So, you acquire these storm sigils by getting the special thing. You want to sit and kill stuff until you get that. So here, let's say this is the wind one. I think this is the wind one. I already did mine, but I would sit here and farm until I got the wind item, and then I turn that in to the vendor for 2 storm sigils. You can also ask the vendor, and we'll talk about that when we get there, I guess. You can also talk to the vendor and be like, hey, have I turned in a storm sigil yet this week? Have I turned in a fire one this week? And it'll tell you whether you have or not. So we're going to go ahead and hearth back to Valdrakken, and we'll look at the vendor, we'll look at the gear, look at the cost of stuff and whatnot. So pretty simple. Fly to the place on the map, farm the stuff out. There's also rare enemies that can spawn in the storms as well that are unique to the storms. So there's achievements regarding all this stuff as well. So you can sit there and kill the rare enemies that spawn too. Those can drop, the chaoses. They can give you useful things as well, just because they're, the special rares that are in the game. So if you're at like the main area, so I'm at the inn right next to the big steps. If you just come down this stairwell to the right, and then I believe this might be like the PvP area here. We just want to keep on going past the blacksmithing or mining area. I think that's blacksmithing. And then it's the first one here on the right. It should be at least. Be embarrassed if it's not. It's the first one here on the right. Yeah, that's correct. So there'll be a vendor to the right, and when you loot these items, it'll tell you to go here. It'll be a vendor to the right, vendor to the left. Vendor to the right is going to have the blue gear. You can see it only costs 200 of this elemental overflow, and this stuff is plentiful. So you can get this 359 gear really quick. Does not appear. Okay, it does have set bonuses. It looks like. Nope. Is that just because I had that piece already? Waste. No, it does look like you can get set bonus from the blue pieces as well. So that is good at least. So you could just farm out your blue pieces and have your set bonuses just from that. And there's weapons as well. And then here's a mount, pet, and then so there's 2 pets and a mount, it looks like. And then all kinds of, and some of the stuff is pretty cool transmog as well, if you just wanted to farm out the transmog. So you can get that stuff pretty quick, honestly. The elemental overflow is the least of your worries. You can just farm that out. Over here, we'll look at the dialogue options. It says, have I turned in the storm sigils or whatever, and you can ask them and go through the dialogue options or whatever. How do I get storm sigils? She'll tell you to go farm him. Then you can ask about each type. So it's going to say I already turned in an earth one. La-di-da. We go to her goods, and you need the blue piece plus storm sigils to upgrade. And so it looks like most of them are 5. Then maybe like some of the bigger items are 10. What about the weapons? Maybe even more for the weapons. 14 it looks like. So for the weapons it's 14. So that's 2 weeks of farming just to upgrade your weapon. That's why I think it's a little bit too much. And I think kind of the sweet spot, even if you wanted to make that 14, even you could say 14's even the sweet spot. But like I said, I think like 16 to 20 would have been better. Or just make the upgrading cheaper, that works as well. So the upgrading it is a little bit expensive, but it is kind of cool gear. And this gear will be more than enough to destroy everything in the open world. If you are, just a casual player looking to get some gear, this stuff is more than good enough to just destroy everything in the open world. So it's pretty good. I want to make a guide going over this though, real quick, just because, I love supporting casual players as well, even though maybe I'm more of a high-end player. I do love, letting casual players be like, hey, you get to play the game too. Obviously, I think it could be even higher item level if you wanted it to be. But there's crafting for that as well in this expansion. And I think maybe the upgrade should be faster. That would be my critique to Blizzard there. So good luck to everybody who's interested in this gear, whether it's on your main character or your alt. And hopefully you have fun playing with it, because it is pretty decent gear and it does look pretty cool. So that's it for this one. As always, I do ask you to please subscribe to the channel. Helps me out so much. And other than that, everybody, have a good one.